Hello. In this video, I'm going to talk about some recent updates to Jackrabbit Relay. I am in my VPS in the GitHub Jackrabbit Relay folder. First, let's talk about some updates to the list market command. And this is the futures exchange name for Binance. And right now I have it set to 1 millisecond for a delay rate. The list markets command has the advantage of being able to find and test exactly what rate limit you need for your exchange. It also lists the markets themselves, the type of market, the amount in the base currency, and the amount required minimum in the quote currency, or the actual cost. These values are taken directly and specifically from the exchange itself. And that leads us to the second command. So let's get out of this. The second command actually analyzes an individual asset. Again, you have your exchange name, you have your Jackrabbit account's name, or none if you want to use the public rate limit, and then the asset you want to specifically examine. So here we have a very detailed view of this particular asset, exactly what the exchange says should be its minimum costs. Now, each exchange keeps 3 types of records: the minimum amount according to the base currency, and the minimum amount according to the quote currency. Amount being in terms of BTC, cost of BTC, and price of BTC. Now, each exchange expects that you take the maximum of these numbers. So to purchase BTC USDT on a futures account, it is assuming a minimum cost of $556. I need to follow this discussion with a very clear warning. Oftentimes, these numbers can be over or under the actual results required in the Binance exchange paperwork or documentation. So it's important to carefully test these values to be sure you are not simply being overcharged for a minimum position. Binance does this, and so does FTX. Whenever you work with a futures exchange, though, you're dealing with contracts, and that is a different process than if you were to deal with Binance itself. For example, the Binance exchange itself, for the same exact pair, shows $10 as its minimum currency. So it's important to study your markets carefully, and this command can pull detailed information about coins. Now let's look at a more difficult market. This will be specifically on the Kraken exchange. As you can see now, it is loading and referencing. First thing you'll notice it is using the public API. Here is the minimums for the base coin TRX. Now you have the minimums for the quote currency ETH. The closing value here is expressed in relation to the value of ETH. So if you take this closing value and multiply it by this closing value, you will get roughly 10 cents. The minimum cost here is 50 TRX, and the cost for ETH is roughly $17.9. Now, whenever you're working with a quote currency, this overrides all values of the base currency. So as you can see here, the minimum entry point is going to be just shy of $18. Now, Kraken does have a slower rate limit, so you are going to see excessive timings. But that is true for many exchanges. So as you move through your analysis and you look at your rates, let's go back to list market. You will see exactly how the exchange pulls its information. And this is important as you're looking at these numbers. The entire subsystem for analyzing coin metrics has been completely overhauled using this new system. All of these numbers come directly from exchange data. And that includes trading information. For example, if we go into our log, let's go to Kraken. Let's go to the end of the file. Now let's go to the most recent trade. You see the minimum asset analysis is present now in all log entries. As time goes on, this will become a configurable setting once I am certain everything is working properly. But for now, it's an important aspect of diagnostics, particularly where Binance is still very much problematic. All exchanges have this diagnostics forced on. So when you see the numbers here, you should see the same numbers down here when it determines the forced value appropriate to what the exchange is actually wanting. There is one other thing that I need to bring your attention to as you look at your logs. Sometimes the new balance won't update the way it should in the log, but it will be appropriate and proper on the exchange itself. That's because the time necessary between the actual order initiation and when the balance is checked isn't enough for the exchange to update it before Relay has checked its numbers. So it's important to understand that this might be a problem that I might have to add a delay factor for. Up until this point here, once the order is actually processed, the system is in a mission critical state to move as quickly as possible. Once the order ID is actually achieved, I could actually wait a second for the exchange to update its records before proceeding, and I may very well do that. So it's important as you progress with your numbers and your functionality that you understand the analysis, what it says, and some of the restrictions that occur within the system. This will over time improve as more information is gathered from each exchange. But for now, it is somewhat of a questionable situation. Note that this is only a visual concern and not a mathematical concern. And it is not very often that it happens. Please be sure to like the video. And if you are not subscribed, please be sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell. It does help this channel grow greatly. And I do want Jackrabbit Relay to explode in terms of usage and availability to anybody that wants to enter the market without requiring a large budget. Until next time.